What's up, Trojans? The Giants are still fighting late in the season, and they were finally able to beat a team, like another team that I just thought they could beat. They were able to beat Arizona earlier in the year, and Washington doesn't count as like a team I thought they could beat because it's Washington, and the Giants always beat Washington. So, another game the Giants really should win, and they actually win because I feel like they really should have beat the Raiders, and the Seahawks were a lot tougher, but the Giants really should have beat the Seahawks if they wanted to be a team. And, obviously we were all thinking the season was going completely downhill because of losses like that. But the Giants last 2 weeks turned it around, 2 wins to make it 4-8. The Giants are, I think, looking forward to a much more respectable year, especially since I feel like the teams played a lot better the last 2 weeks, aside from, not playing other playoff teams like Dallas and, potentially the Seahawks and everything like that. Even if the competition is a bit lower, there's a lot of positives to take out. Yeah, the Patriots are struggling, and that probably helps the defense out a little bit, but the fact that the defense was able to get 3 picks and hold a team to only 7 points is a real feat. Like that's really good. It's something to build on, look forward to continuing, hopefully, later down the stretch, and really hopefully into next season, because unless the Giants were to completely win out, not much hope for the year in terms of playoffs or anything crazy. But yeah, it was kind of a boring game to watch, honestly. The final score is only 7-10, and the main thing that did it was all the picks from the defense. That was really fun to watch. Not much going on in the sack department. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see Kayvon Thibodeau getting a ton of sacks today. Although he showed up, he had a couple nice tackles for loss and everything. But yeah, the defense with the picks. The main one was Bobby Okereke, the linebacker picked up in free agency, who has been doing great for this team, even in a bad year. He had a nice interception, and I thought that was going to turn into a pick 6, but Mac Jones was able to kind of hold him up long enough. I thought what he should have done, as I'm watching it, I thought he should have just stiff-armed Mac Jones, trucked him, something. Like, that's a quarterback, man. Like, I feel like there's some hesitancy there. It's like, oh no, it's a guy and the quarterback. Like, I can't let the quarterback tackle me. So I feel like he slowed up and tried to go around him, and that's what allowed someone to come up from behind and take him down. But otherwise, I thought that was going to be a pick 6. It worked out anyway. I believe that was the drive that ended up happening where Tommy DeVito was able to just kind of flip a short pass to Isaiah Hodgins, who made some moves, made some guys mix and miss, and got into the end zone, mixed some guys up, got into the end zone, Ended up being a great play from Isaiah Hodgins, who last year really came on as the guy, and this year hasn't been as consistent. But so that was nice to see from him. And that was the Giants' only touchdown of the day. Otherwise, the main thing to note on offense is Jalen Hyatt. DeVito was able to find him for a good set of nice passes today, which is great to see because that was not the case in DeVito's, playing against the Raiders, where definitely missed Hyatt a good few times. But, in this game, it was really nice to see him get that. And I feel like against Washington, his deep threat was more Slayton than Hyatt. In this game, since Slayton was limited, definitely found Hyatt much more, which I really appreciate because, Hyatt's a young guy and clearly has a knack for, getting deep balls. This needs to be used more, and also he's really fast, so get him out in space. There was one play like that today where they got him like that, just a little, like a simple route where he just kind of had a nice run after catch. Not that he was juking guys or anything, but just used his speed to get all the yards you could get on the play. It was nice to see. Otherwise, not much going on in the offense. Saquon was very quiet today, although he had a good few runs, just quiet overall, nothing too crazy, and it was just a low-scoring game. So, a lot of the focus back on the defense. The first pick of the day was Deonte Banks, the first-round pick at corner, who has played great this year overall for a rookie corner. Like, that's a tough position to come in the NFL and play. You're going up against wide receivers, very reactionary. You got to know what to look for and how to respond to several different circumstances. But he's found a way to come in and look solid against a lot of great wide receivers and, have a couple picks on the year now. It's pretty good. And his interception was no joke either. He had to work to keep the feet in bounds and everything. I think it was a badly thrown ball and everything, but, even at that, there's outsmarting a quarterback and there's, actually taking advantage when the quarterback gives you something to work with. And you got to do that when given the chance, and he was able to do it there. The other guy with an interception was Xavier McKinney. He almost had one. I think it was this week. He kind of dropped one, and I was like, oh man, you gotta get that. It was a tough one. It would have been like the Deonte Banks one kinda, but he really should have had it. Ended up getting one. I think that was the one pick on their quarterback they subbed in because once their starting quarterback, Mac Jones, threw 2 interceptions, they put in Bailey Zapp, who still threw an interception and didn't win them the game or anything. He had a really good drive. I think that was the touchdown drive, so, there was that. But, yeah, threw a solid pick to Xavier McKinney. McKinney did everything on this. This was a textbook interception by Xavier McKinney, where he just jumps the route. There were 2 Giants defenders, right there on the guy, either about to make a tackle or, bat the ball out of the receiver's hand as he goes to catch it. Xavier McKinney beat everybody to that ball, jumped it cleanly, ran right in there, grabbed the ball, clean pick, got a couple yards on the return even too. And, that's really all to note from the game. The only other thing that was funny was their kicker missed a 35-yarder. And that's what allowed the Giants to just win the game in regulation because they had a nice, easy field goal, could have made the game 10-10, made it really interesting going into overtime, and 2 teams, that haven't been scoring a ton of points lately, but the Patriots, kind of coming back, because they would have been the one forcing the overtime, so that normally gives you a slight advantage. But just missed it. So game ended right there. And it was just kind of funny to see that. Otherwise, some of the stuff after the game got pretty interesting because Joe Schoen, the Giants general manager, decided to give out a press conference. So I thought that was going to be interesting. I thought they'd, ask about what are your thoughts on the season? He'd be like, yeah, it had some issues and everything, and then ask about the Leonard Williams trade, where he'd be like, yeah, I got great value, and all that happened. But obviously a lot of quarterback talk too, and he had some very interesting answers to that, and then about Evan Neal. So diving right into the quarterback stuff, obviously they asked him the same question 3 different times, which is always come on, he answered it. I thought he answered it really well the first time. And then you basically just have him saying the same thing over and over again after that. They ask it slightly differently, talk about Daniel Jones, and he didn't play well even in his starts, and now he's injured. So what are you going to do at quarterback? And then I think the first question was the same as that, but they just emphasize different parts. What are you looking at for quarterback in the offseason? He gives the same answer every time. It's just kind of annoying because there are other questions that could be asked of him. Nothing too crazy. I think they got the basics, but I don't know. I just find that weird. But, on the quarterback, he straight up said, I'll look at drafting a quarterback. I'm looking at some in free agency. I'm looking at some in the draft. I'm very active for quarterbacks. And then at the very end of that response, he was like, to replace Tyrod Taylor because, I'm sure he'll want to go somewhere else and not resign you. It's buddy. Yeah, definitely. Only looking at quarterbacks to replace Tyrod Taylor now. But yeah, so it's good to know that he has his mind open on quarterbacks because, if someone's there, even a 2nd round quarterback would make things interesting, keep Daniel Jones on his toes. He said he's thinking Daniel Jones will get the start, which, yeah, who would at this point? You would be looking to start Daniel Jones, and then, if it happens that you love a quarterback and, really want to draft a quarterback, even if it is high in the first round, you just do it and be like, I was planning to start Daniel Jones, but then this guy looked really good. So, well, a lot of waiting to see what will happen with that. And then the other big thing was Evan Neal. They asked about Evan Neal, and Joe Schoen's just like, yeah, he needs to play better. He's got to play a lot better. He has had injury issues, though, but he needs to play a lot better. So that was just funny to see the very candid response there. And otherwise, talked a lot about, some of the decisions he has made this year. The one he had to take full responsibility for was the punt returning situation. But it ended up working out because now we have, a guy that seems to be doing well at it and everything. Then just kind of talked about the season in general, the record and everything. He chalked it up to a lot of, the other stuff, and aside from guys that you thought would play well haven't played well. A lot of the injuries and just some of the scheduling even, which the scheduling thing is really true. You would have hoped the Giants would have been more competitive in games against tough teams, but even I thought they could start the year at 2-4. I was thinking 3-3 because I thought they'd come out week 1 against Dallas and really show out and everything. Instead, they decided to lose 4-0. But, the schedule at the beginning of the year was tough. And so in all of my thoughts on the schedule, I thought there would be a lot more wins at this point in the year. And then going later into the year, that would get the Giants into the playoffs. But, when you get yourself down this bad, even if they do start to get some wins now, nothing's going to come of it. And so that, that did hurt the Giants. And then injuries as well. But, it's a big part of the problem. But, the main thing is just guys that, you need to play well haven't played well. And, some of the guys that you thought would play well, like I said, like Kayvon Thibodeau, you're looking to evaluate a guy like Deonte Banks. I think those guys have played well. Saquon is obviously Saquon. But then, you think about the offensive line. It's like, all right, I thought the offensive line would be better. I thought some of these wide receivers would be able to do a little bit more for us. But then again, maybe it's not all the wide receivers' fault. Maybe it's the fault of the quarterback not being able to get the ball to the wide receivers. A lot of stuff to consider there on why the Giants are doing bad. And I'm sure he'll be thinking about that. And then just the final thing he mentioned was the Leonard Williams trade. And the interesting thing that he mentioned about the Leonard Williams trade was he actually asked Leonard Williams if he wanted to be traded or not. And he refused to answer this straightly, which he should refuse to answer it straightly. But, since he asked Leonard Williams if he wanted to be traded, obviously the question is, okay, well, what if Leonard Williams was adamant, like, no, I want to be back here next year, whatever it takes, and I want to finish out the year here, like, would Leonard Williams have stayed here? And, other than that, he had a very simple answer to that trade question, which is, I wanted the second-round pick, because the second-round pick is very valuable for a guy that was likely going to leave in the offseason anyway. So that all worked out well, and, yeah, I don't know, I really like the way Joe Schoen does the press conferences. I feel like he's very straightforward with his answers and, really gives some good insight into what he's thinking without giving away too much. You ask him a question, you get the straight answer as a response. And it's like, all right, good. Glad to know that's your thought on that. And I feel like even a couple times with the way they were trying to beat around the bush on some of the questions, I feel like he cut through that and just answered a couple of the questions. And, there's some questions as a general manager he shouldn't answer, like, would you have not done this thing the other way? Like, no, I can't give you all of my what ifs. I have to keep some things secret. But, yeah, a lot of interesting stuff coming out of the week. And, obviously since the Giants have won, not really in the best spot in terms of tanking or anything. But I think that this provides a really good opportunity now instead of looking forward to getting, like Caleb Williams or some nonsense. It's a great opportunity to just evaluate someone like Tommy DeVito who's really come on the scene. Now, yeah, Tommy DeVito didn't do anything too crazy against the Patriots, but He didn't turn the ball over, and he got the ball to Jalen Hyatt. And those are two very key things I would like from a Giants quarterback. So, if DeVito keeps this up and the Giants win a few more games, I would find it really interesting if he stuck around as the presumed backup throughout camp in the offseason next year. And then, maybe Daniel Jones can take a little bit longer to rest up that injury. And maybe DeVito starts week 1, plays really well. Who knows? I mean, in any case, Joe Schoen was talking heavily about getting a quarterback in the offseason because why not? It seems like he's already thought about Tyrod Taylor leaving. And I'll have to see what happens. The other small thing to note was something about the Giants' defensive coordinator. Yeah, I would be incredibly shocked if Wink Martindale left, especially after the defensive performance the last 2 weeks. I mean, the defensive performance the last 2 weeks is something you put on the resume for a head coaching position, not for getting fired. Be absolutely insane. But, yeah, that's everything I got this time. See you guys in the next one.